What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the biggest victory Monday of the year. Welcome back to the Faithful Fanatic Show live here on DSM-Media's YouTube and Twitter channels. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure to check us out on Twitter at DSM_media. Click the link tree in our bio to take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout today's show, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen. The Phillies head down to Atlanta and take Game 1 versus the Atlanta Braves 3-0. We're going to be breaking down that game. The Eagles head out to LA and head to 5-0 for the first time in back-to-back years since like 1991 for a Super Bowl team. So that's pretty impressive there as well. And then the Sixers also hitting the hardwood in preseason versus the Celtics. Maybe we'll dabble into that later on in the show. But I'm one half your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my main man, Scotty. Happy Monday, my man. And what is going on?
Happy Monday, my man. And as you mentioned, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, victory Monday of the year. And it's a bad weekend, man, to all the Philadelphia haters out there. It is a bad weekend to be a Philly hater because we are looking ultra successful. We're in a great spot in both cases that were settled this weekend. And we get right back to it tonight. There's no time to celebrate or, do our this is our victory lap, of course, but we get that short-lived nonetheless. And we get right back to it tonight in an important Game 2 matchup for the Phils. But man, what a weekend. I know you had a very lucrative weekend. Yes, based on the fightings. So that always makes things better. I know I had a couple.
You can't give me the fightings at plus 170, bro. You shouldn't do it.
They're giving it to you again tonight, man. They're giving it to you again tonight.
It's not a good idea for the sports books. But yeah, man, it was a great weekend. And like you said, I think we actually forgot, this time last year, how hectic this time of the year. There's no time to sit there. Like it's Phillies playoffs. 6:07 Saturday. It's Eagles and football Sunday. It's Phillies playoffs 6:06. Like there's just so much going on. Obviously, and a lot to break down. And the Sixers are following as well. So we have a lot to talk about. But let's start with that Game 1 victory on Saturday night, man, because that was an emotional game, to say the least. Like the roller coaster, Rob Thompson plucking Ranger Suarez at the time he did, Bryce Harper having the game, Trey Turner getting fired up after the double play, which, by the way, I've watched that clip no less than 450 times since Saturday night. That was maybe the best defensive play I've seen in a meaningful Phillies playoff game or a meaningful Phillies game, quite possibly ever, right? Bryce's stop with an 0-2 count. 2-out RBI single to get things started. JT Realmuto throwing people out at second base, trying to run on them. It was a great game. And I know the title of the show says Phillies steal Game 1. They didn't steal nothing, bro. They went down there and took Game 1 from the Atlanta Braves from start to finish. That ballpark had no idea what hit them. Those players had no idea what hit them. Scotty, see, that's the beautiful thing, right? And you're at home. You didn't even come to Philadelphia yet, but you can have all this simulation games. You can pump up the crowd noise. You can sit there and wait because you won the division and you're the 1 seed, and that's all well and good. You have no idea what's going to hit you until you get punched in the mouth, and that's exactly what happened on Saturday night. The Phillies pitching staff, timely hitting, they were phenomenal, man.
Yeah. Hey, no, you hit some great points there, and I like that you said, the title of the show is that the Phillies stole Game 1. Yeah, they stole it in the grand scheme of
in the
things,
sense,
right?
Yeah.
But when you look at what actually played out on the field, they had complete control of that game. There was maybe 1 or 2 moments, the bases loaded later in the game where you're like, they get out of it with a double
first and
play.
third one out when Trey makes that double play.
Insane moments, but all in all, it was the Phillies that had the lead, and the Braves were trying to get back into the game. The Braves were disappointed when they leave the bases loaded after you have 1 out in the inning. So I loved what you said about the Phillies just kind of dominating this game and controlling this game. And all it leads me to think, man, as you sit back and you look at all of this, like baseball is just such a crazy ass sport. Yeah. Like for you to get to the postseason, and we're talking about this team and the Braves that have hit 307 home runs. They're arguably the best offensive team in all of baseball all time. Like there's arguments
Yeah.
back to the 1920 Yankees, right? When you're comparing what this Atlanta Braves team has done, and you have a mixture of Ranger Suarez and the bullpen
Mm-hmm.
that comes out and holds them to 0 runs. They weren't able to manufacture anything. They weren't able to get anything out of the park. They weren't able to do anything against this unit. You mentioned Ranger Suarez getting plucked. He obviously started the game really well, 3.2 innings pitched. Rob Thompson pulls the plug, and he had a plan, though. That's the thing. We sit here in the moment and we look at it. We're like, what the fuck is he doing? Rangers looking really good. We're going to use up our bullpen, blah, blah, blah. But when he goes and he presses the right button every step from that moment, it really makes Rob Thompson look good. You look at Hoffman, Sir Anthony, Alvarado, Kerkering, Strom, and Kimbrel all finished out that game, 5.1 innings pitched, 4 hits between them, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 0 runs, versus the best offensive team ever. That more speaks to where the Phillies bullpen is at versus where the Braves are at. We know the Braves are good. Their lineup is good. We know that. It's great. The Phillies bullpen looked great in that game 1, and it gives me a lot of confidence going forward with this team, man. And now you get wheels at the mound tonight. You set yourself up for that. But the last thing I'll say here before I throw it back to you, this Phillies team, why I say baseball is just so crazy when you look at it, specifically in this situation, is they can sit here and score all these runs in the regular season that they want, but when you get to the big moments and the brighter lights, who's going to step up and make the plays? And it looks like the Phillies are those guys. They look like the ones that are ready to come out and take this to the next level. And it's got me beyond excited, man. When you see something get fulfilled like that, like we knew going into that game, like the Phillies have a chance to win this game 1 in Atlanta.
But the importance of it, right?
The importance of swinging that momentum. And so many times, in Philly sports specifically, my mind goes to the Sixers every time I think of stuff like this. So many times teams just don't take advantage of what's in front of them and the opportunities that they have. And the Phillies seem to do it every single time. And it's really just inspiring stuff. And I love what this team, they have my full belief. There's nothing that this Phillies team can't do at this point.
I agree.
In my mind, it's all up to them whether or not they want to go out here and win the World Series the rest of the way.
Look, man, that Rob Thompson decision, if the Phillies go on another run and get back to the World Series, that Rob Thompson decision is going to be talked about for decades. Decades. I still don't know what the plan was. Like, I get, like, listen, he called a hell of a game. Kudos to him. And I know in the postseason, you manage things differently. You manage them a little more tighter than you do in the regular season, where you have to see things coming. You cannot react to Ranger giving up a run or 2 early. You have to foresee it coming. But Rangers seem dialed in, man. The 2 base runners with 2 outs were infield singles lightly hit. Now, don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of 2 out, infield singles followed by a moonshot of a 3-run home run, and the wheels start to fall off the wagon, right? So kudos to him for going and getting them and it working out. But I still have no idea why that plan was implemented the way it was.
And Ranger loves those big moments. You saw Ranger's reaction. He loves those big moments too, so he's built for it. Rob Thompson made a decision, and luckily,
not just the Ranger part, Scotty. Think about the rest of the way the game went. Alvarado pitching the 6th. Strom getting what? The 8th.
Yeah, the 8th. Yeah.
Like, shouldn't that technically be reversed when you think about it? Your high leverage guy gets the 8th versus Strom. No, press the right button there. Hoffman's the first guy out of the bullpen to get out of base. Well, he ends up walking the guy and getting bases loaded, but he gets out of it with a big punch out. The kid, like, think about that, man. Jeff Hoffman and Orion Kerkering shutting down the best offense in baseball in game 1 on the road. That's unbelievable. Jeff Hoffman is only here because he threw BP to Bryce Harper during his rehab. Do you know that story, right?
No, I did not know that story, man. No.
Jeff Hoffman, when Bryce was rehabbing and ramping up to come back, and he was, up in wherever he was.
Yeah.
They needed guys to throw live BP to him. And Hoffman was one of a couple guys to throw live BP to Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper went to the Phillies and said, "You need to look at this." And that's how Jeff Hoffman got his shot with the Phillies this year.
Shout out to Bryce Harper.
Orion Kirkering comes up 30 seconds ago. Phenomenal. Doesn't waver, right? They were great, man. Sir Anthony Dominguez had questions about him heading into the postseason. He was struggling. Nope, he comes in, looks great. Craig Kimbrell, I know it was a 3-run lead, not a 1-run lead, but Craig comes in, slams the door. See you later. Takes game 1. Yep.
Yeah.
And I agree. I get why. Like, I get why he wanted Alvarado against the lefty in that part of their lineup. But Strom was like, my point is, when you just think like
matchup,
again, he pressed the right button, and that's why Rob Thompson's the manager and not me. But in my mind, I would have said, okay, the lefties are up here in the 6th. They're probably going to be up again in the 8th. I would have went Strom first, Alvarado later on, but you know, Rob Thompson's kind of message and plan is we got to get there first. So what's my best option to get there? It's Jose Alvarado to keep this thing scoreless.
And I love it. I love it. When you got Wheeler coming to the mound in your next game, you can afford to do things like this, right? You can afford to use your bullpen arms to the maximum degree. Let me ask you this. We talked a lot about
the day off. Don't forget that. You had a day off Sunday.
Yeah, and a day off on top of it. We talked a lot about the pitching.
Yeah.
What did you see from the lineup? What did you see from Bryce and company in this game, man?
Yeah, well, let's start right there with Bryce Harper, right? The leader of this, the conductor of this train, right? Obviously rips a piss missile off of Spencer Strider. What did that leave his bat? 115, 116 miles per hour. You literally didn't even see the ball go over the fence.
Yeah,
that's how hard hit it. They slowed it down, and you could still barely see that white circle go over the fence. That's how hard he hit this ball off of Spencer Strider. Okay, that was phenomenal, but that wasn't even his best at bat. His best at bat was to score the first run of the game, and for him to take that walk and to spit on all of those pitches that just dropped underneath the zone, right, and react to fastball if it's there. He gets on base. Strider, very reminiscent of Game 3. Remember last year, Bryson Stott up the bat. Brandon Marsh on first base. Strider throws over, gets in the outfield. Marsh gets the third. Stott doubles down the line, right? What happens here? Spencer Strider makes a mistake, throws over. Bryce gets the second. Bang. Bryson Stott, 0-2 count, 2-out RBI single. So Bryce Harper's best at bat was that one. He made plays at first base all night. Bryce was phenomenal. Bryson Stott, again, man, you can't pinpoint that at bat enough. Scotty, 0-2. 0-2 to one of the best punch-out pitchers in the league. 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He goes off speed away. What's Stott do? He don't try to pull it. Pops it right out into the left field. Bryce gets a great jump. Bryson Stott was phenomenal, right? Yeah. Kyle Schwarber leads the game off with a double. They weren't able to get him in, but think about how that sets the tone moving forward if he's able to do stuff like that to set the table for the rest of the lineup. And I'll end it here with this. Trey mother effing Turner, not just in the lineup with the bat, in the field, dude. That double play, the emotion. Don't forget that. Watch that video of the emotion from Trey Turner. He always seems like Mr. Quiet. He's the quiet kid in the class. He's a professional. Right? Yeah.
He's a professional.
Yeah. Except he knows how crucial that play was in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Yeah.
To not allow even that one run to cross home plate to make it 3-1 and give them a better opportunity in the 9th. Trey doesn't allow it. He obviously gets on base as well. Steals second and third, Scotty, to set up a third insurance run.
I mean, that is just the most effortless stealing base. Like the ability to steal bases, he does it so effortlessly. It's beyond anything I've honestly ever seen. Guy that he just like the speed doesn't necessarily blow you away. He's just like a quick cat, right? That gets from base to base. It's really wild to watch. But yeah, I love that you pointed out Trey Turner there. Obviously, Bryce is just doing Bryce things against the Atlanta Braves. That's just what he's gonna do. And mind you, this man against the Braves, like other series, you'll see the emotion come out of Bryce, but he's like a stone cold killer against the Braves because he knows what's at stake here. He can't get 2 up or 2 down against this team. Trey Turner, though, man, he's just so technically sound. He's such like a professional, just does all the right things.
Yeah.
And to see that emotion come out of him on that huge double play that kind of saved the game, right? The game could get out of hand right there. That's where you lose the game. And he makes that play, and it was just unbelievable to watch. And you love to see the emotion from a guy like that because it lets you know how big the moment is. He knows how big the moment is. And I think that's a connection where you see that these baseball players that come to the Philadelphia Phillies, they love playing in front of the Philly fans. They love playing in this community, right? And obviously this game wasn't in Philadelphia, but when you make a play like that, knowing that the fans know how big of a play that is, like we're not just novice fans, amateur fans out here watching baseball and cheering. No, we notice every single thing, every intricate detail that goes into these games. And I think just knowing that you have that connection with the fans, it pumps you up even more. It's just, it really, that game was like the epitome of things starting to come together for this team and it coming full circle now.
And it's Hunter's point, man. Some people didn't think it was coming. Some people think that version of Trey Turner, this version of Trey Turner wasn't going to come out to play, man. And I think what's crucial there as well, Scotty, about him showing that emotion, like you were talking about, is that's a guy that's been there, done that. That's a guy that's won a World Series already.
Yeah.
So if he knows how big that play, like that should tell you something. That raw emotion right there should tell you something about that moment in that ballpark. Start making the fans throw trash on the field. Oh my God.
I forgot about that.
Goodness, what happened? What happened? Oh, and I have clips, man. I have clips I got to send you from before game one. Atlanta podcasters, Atlanta Braves radio host talking about Phillies fans and talking about how they're not going to come in here and win this game. Oh, I'll send it to you. It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. But I will say this. No. Oh, they had the mascot issue as well with Blooper, but not even that, dude. There were like you and I, Atlanta podcasters, Atlanta content creators talking about how the Phillies are not going to come down there, and people were talking about how the Phillies are hot. No, they're not. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh,
whatever you say.
Listen, man, the last thing I'll really touch on here with the lineup is because like we talked about in the beginning of the show with the pitching, Rob Thompson's decision, Ranger looked stoic. The bullpen comes in, shuts them down. Every single one of them was great. And that's also a rare thing too. Think about that for one more second. Do you know how rare it is to go and pluck inning by inning a reliever and not one of them have an off night?
Yeah.
They were all lights out. Yeah, Hoffman made the walk to come out, loaded the bases. Strahm, obviously, thank you, Trey Turner. There were some speed bumps along the way.
Yeah.
But nothing too drastic that cut into this lead. The last thing I'll say here is
the team's interconnected. There was no way around that. The team is so
they went down there and took game one of a 5-game set, which is already beautiful enough. And the pitching could not have been better. The pitching could not have been more perfect. But the other half of things, let's not sit here and act or forget as if the Phillies played some perfect game offensively, and that was their best shot to squeak by the Atlanta Braves 3-0.
Right.
The Phillies put the ball in play, one time?
Yeah.
Or 2 times, excuse me. The Stott single, the Bryce homer, and then there was a catcher's interference call to score the 3rd run.
Can you explain that do you understand that call?
Yeah.
Can you explain that to me?
So basically, that swing path belongs to the batter. If the catcher's glove, now I know this was very tricky for if you don't understand because
I can see it though. Like JT's bat didn't go like full swing because I guess he felt the catcher's mitt.
Right. So if the catcher's glove, basically that path is the batter's, right? Wherever that bat goes, right? Because think about it. He's not going to like lean backwards to go into the catcher. So he's this way. If the catcher's glove, if any part of him gets into that path and the bat makes contact, it's catcher's interference. Now that one was very tricky because when they showed the replay, it doesn't really look like it hits anything.
Yeah.
But listen, man, JT knew it. The ump knew it, and Sean Murphy knew it.
Yeah.
Like, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
The catcher, he didn't look over to challenge it. He wasn't arguing with the ump. As soon as he sent him to first base, he slapped his mitt against his leg. He knew it.
Yeah.
So regardless if you had visual evidence, something happened there on that play, and that's what it was. So yeah, if the catcher's glove makes contact with the bat, because basically that path belongs to the batter,
Yeah.
and if you impede that in any way, it's catcher's interference.
Makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
my point was, they didn't do anything out of this world, man. They didn't hit 5 home runs like game 3 of the World Series last year, right? Like they didn't have to go out of this world to beat this team. Not just this team, this ace in Spencer Strider.
Yeah.
They did enough to get the job done on offense, and the pitching was great. Now, I get Wheeler's on the mound. You also aren't going to shut out the Atlanta Braves again at home, but you're also not going to keep the Phillies lineup down 4 more times.
Yeah.
So something's going to give, and it'll be very interesting to see what gives tonight. Zach Wheeler on the mound pitches great against the Atlanta Braves, right? Against Max Fried. We'll talk about it on the pregame show, man, but injury concern there. Obviously, through a simulation game, there were no problems. Guess what? Threw it with a Band-Aid on that finger. Not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So that won't be a case tonight. Now, maybe that blister is healed by now. I don't know. Maybe it's not. And maybe once those laces start to touch that finger a couple times, maybe it opens up or something. I'm not hoping for it. I'm just saying he's not 100%. That's a storyline to keep
Zach
an eye
Wheeler
on.
on the other side of things.
Exactly.
Like,
I'll tell you why I'll tell you why I'm emphasizing it. Because we look at this Braves team like they can do no wrong, like they have no holes. This team has a pitching issue. This team has an issue beyond Spencer Strider. Max Fried now beat up. Charlie Morton missing the NLDS. Where are you turning to?
Yeah.
Bryce Elder?
When you get back in Philly?
Right. That's the point of that's why the Max Fried blister is a bigger story than it normally would be, because they don't and by the way, the win, right? Like this is Atlanta's season is on the line tonight.
Yeah.
And you might have a hobbled pitcher. Okay.
Let's see what they got. They're going to come out and be aggressive tonight. We'll see what they got, but the ball is in Phillies Park right now, right? It's in their hands, and they've taken full advantage so far. You just got to hope they continue. It's crazy. You look in this game, right? It felt like the Braves were like the team that like fell apart, the missing out on the bases loaded, 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position, but the Phillies were 2 for 8. Like you said,
right.
The Phillies didn't perform up to their par either.
Schwarber leads the game off with a double. They didn't move them.
They missed out on more opportunities, right? 6 versus 5. So it is interesting looking at it. There's still so much meat left on the bone here for the Phillies to tear off, and it's going to be interesting tonight, man. It feels like Trey Turner, man. It just feels like he's that glue, right? That I'm just thinking back. I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, man. Honestly, I'm trying not to, but
it's all right, man.
thinking back through everything, if you have Trey Turner against the Astros,
we're allowed to.
If you have Trey Turner against the Astros in the World Series, what does that look like, right?
Exactly.
When you can make those difference-making plays in the game. I can't wait for tonight, though, nonetheless, man.
Brother. No, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be breaking down game 2 tonight on DSM Pregame Live. So, guys, make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, the DSM-Media Philadelphia YouTube channels, where you can catch all of our pregame lives, Eagles, Phillies, and soon-to-be Sixers. That's painful to say, but we'll get into that more towards the season, man.
Right.
But speaking of the second half of our victory Monday, the Philadelphia Eagles, 5-0. This was by far the best game they have played all year. Still not perfect. Still some issues in the red zone. Still some meat left on the bone. Jalen Hurts throws another interception on the right pylon of the end zone. There's some things you can look at and pick at and say, we got to get these cleaned up, especially once the schedule starts to harden, right? However, Jalen Hurts was phenomenal yesterday. And it was both. It was the first time all year I've seen last year's dual threat ability of Jalen Hurts, and not all the design runs, not anything like that. I'm talking third downs, escapes from the pocket, extends the play with his arms or legs, making guys miss in the open field, running somebody over. He was phenomenal yesterday. A.J. Brown was phenomenal yesterday. Dallas Goedert, you called it on the pregame show, starts the game off with a touchdown, multiple big catches. He was great, over 100 yards yesterday. and the defense, Scotty. It's what we wanted to see. And it started out rough. It did not look like we were going to get what we asked for versus Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua yesterday. But guess what? Sean Desai and the Eagles defense held up and only gave up 14 points. No points in the second half. They held the LA Rams to like 100 yards in the set, something crazy. They were phenomenal yesterday. The Eagles controlled time of possession. There's not much more I can say about them. This was the best all-around game this team has played. And they're 5-0, man. It's 1-0 every week. Let's go.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head, man. What I'll say, good teams win, great teams cover. Eagles covered the spread as well, right? 5-0 in the season. And I agree, man. I thought Jalen Hurts was magnificent in this game. Once again, there's still meat left on the bone, but we'll take the W's on the road, especially on the West Coast. Those are tough games in general.
Basically a home game, though.
Yeah, they took over the stadium by the end of the game. That's got to be quite embarrassing for LA teams, man.
100%.
That constantly getting overtaken, and it gets bad when teams like the Eagles, the Steelers come into town. I mean, that stuff.
I could not imagine being a West Coast sports fan.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I could not. It's so. And listen, man, I get it. Like, maybe we're just, angrier over here in the Northeast than they
we
are.
don't got the sunshine all year,
the beautiful weather, everything. I get it. Like the lifestyle plays a factor into it, but to just allow opposing fan bases to take over your stadium, your multi-billion, trillion, gazillion dollar stadium, and to let us run rampant through it, that's embarrassing.
They say it's the best stadium in the NFL, and yet it's filled with opposing
for who?
Great stadium to visit, but no, I thought Jalen Hurts was great in this game. I'm trying not to ridicule him too much. Obviously, there was 2 plays I thought Jalen Hurts could have made that maybe make a huge difference in the game. The INT, that was bad, but I think that will come with time. I think that just have a little bit more patience on that series is what I would ask. And I think that's what Sirianni was probably asking him as well. And then missed Quez in the end zone. Now, part of that is not even Jalen's fault, right? Like, if I'm Jalen, I'm not looking at Quez because Quez sucks. So,
well, not to mention,
that's part of the issue.
Jalen's running to his right, and he does. He misses him, man. And if he puts that ball on him, it's an easy 6. The problem is he's running to his right, and it's not necessarily Quez's fault either, but you're in the middle of the end zone.
Yeah.
What are you taught not to do as a quarterback?
Yeah. Throw
across your body back to it. So he's not even looking there because I'm not making any type of throw like that. Probably, again, if he sees him, it's a touchdown because he's that wide open. But, yeah, he was rolling to his right towards that sideline. His eyes are vertical in that portion of the field, but yeah.
Yeah, and just to stay on that point, I believe like now is the time to say it. Like Zacchaeus needs to be
let's stop it.
Yeah, we need to stop.
I texted it to you when it happened. That screen, first of all, can we just abandon the wide receiver screens in general? Smitty, Quez, it doesn't matter. I can't stand the play regardless. Yeah. But the Quez walk, I mean, it was set up, man. It was set up to perfection. It's a first down. Easily.
AJ and Smitty making incredible blocks on the edge.
It was unbelievable, man. I don't know what he's doing. Olamide Zacchaeus, he's better. Like he's better. It's a third option. It's basically a 4th or 5th option in this offense, but it's your third wide receiver. He's proven he can stretch the field, a la the Tampa Bay game. He's got the hands. He's got the speed. Made a big 3rd down catch in that Tampa Bay game down the sideline as well. He's a better receiver, man. Yeah. All season long, how many people on Twitter, Scotty, the Quez revenge season? I got what receipts, bro? What receipts?
Like, get the fuck out of here.
The game he lost against Washington last year, the drop in the Super Bowl, or this screenplay? How much more evidence do you need that this dude does not deserve to be on the field as much as he is?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's very clear. I need to see Zacchaeus in those situations, and that's what I would like to see going forward. You mentioned Goddard, getting him involved early in this game. Had a 49-yard reception at one point, took the top off the defense. It was nice to see him active, confident, see that he can be involved in the offense. I know we were very confident going into that game, but it was nice to see it play out. AJ Brown, you mentioned it, over 100 yards again, has over 500 receiving yards on the season. He's just quietly, taking over the NFL from a receiver standpoint.
Quietly might break another Eagles record this year.
Yeah, quietly, he's on pace for like 1,800 receiving yards. So yeah, love to see what I saw from AJ. Swift, I loved what they did with Swift yesterday, although I would like to see a little bit more balance with the run game. Like to see them run the ball a little bit more just with the running back, right? You saw several times that for whatever reason, I get it, you want to catch the defense off guard, but sometimes you can keep it simple and just give it to your running back, man, instead of the QB draw or the designed QB runs. As you mentioned earlier, I love what Hurts did with his legs on the non-designed QB runs. Those are the ones that look good to me. But nonetheless, Swift gets 23 touches yesterday, 6 catches, 17 carries. So they're using him in multiple facets of the offense. Love seeing the checkdowns to Swift, man. I love seeing that. Just look at some of the first downs that he got off that. What'd you say?
He's a weapon. That's what it is.
You just got to get the ball in his hands, and he can make guys miss. It's actually a beautiful facet to the offense. But yeah, man, you look at this offense. Obviously, the red zone scoring needs to improve. That's the overall detractor of this game. That's the one detractor that you look at for this Eagles team in this game. But there was signs, right, of great offensive output. You had the 32-second drive before half that really changed the entire momentum of the game, right? I didn't expect us to score 7.
No.
It was aided by penalties, but they were very clear penalties, right? The horse collar and then the pass interference. Once again, A.J. Brown presence in that series. That was an A.J. Brown series in a sense. 13 for 18 on third down, so a good percentage there on the third down conversions. You look at the time of possession and the amount of plays. 78 plays for the Eagles, 55 plays for the Rams, 454 total yards to 249 of the Rams. So they doubled up the Rams offensively, basically. 37 minutes of possession, basically 38, 22 minutes of possession for the Rams. So they dominated almost every single facet of the offensive matchup. Just have to finish in the red zone. And I do think that comes with more practice, more trial and error with the offensive coordinator in this offense. But I will say, in the moment, it's extremely frustrating to watch the offense not be able to score with the amount of talent on the field. It just doesn't make sense.
Against that defense.
Against that defense, that you're just moving the ball down the field, and then all of a sudden, you just can't get it in the end zone. I think a lot of that's play calling, though, honestly, man. And I think that needs to get ironed out.
I agree. And to Hunter's point, owning the line of scrimmage, man, like Sua Opeta steps in for Cam Jurgens, looks fine, right? Mailata was great. Lane was great. Jason was great. Dickerson, great. Like the offensive line was fantastic again. You mentioned AJ Brown. He watched that he watched that Trey Turner play on Saturday night and said, hold on. And then just decided to have a flash of his own, a highlight of his own with that. That was disgusting. That was an incredible play, man. And that's why it pays to just go get that difference maker like they did last year.
It's worth it.
Without that, what does this offense look like, right? But
more than worth it.
We said it to start off the segment, man. Desai made adjustments. Obviously, it didn't look like they were going to have the output that they got, the production that they got yesterday with the way the game started. Stafford was getting whatever he wanted. He was getting the ball out quickly. Kupp was killing them in the slot. But, I know it was frustrating to watch the first possession or two, but Sean Desai at least was trying different things. He tried about 4 different options.
Yeah.
He looked at a linebacker / safety combo on Kupp in the slot. He went to Eli Ricks. He went to Mario Goodrich.
Yeah.
He brought Bradley Roby got on the field, right? He tried a bunch of different things. So he did adjust there. But the big thing, once it came down to it, end of the game, up 6, up 9, whatever the case may be, Jalen Carter, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat getting in his face on multiple occasions. The defensive line flashes again in a timely manner, right? They weren't getting there in the first half. They got there when it mattered. Jalen Carter up to 3.5 sacks on the young season already. Hassan Reddick with 2 sacks to end the game. That's the best part, man. We're sitting here through 3 weeks. Hassan with no sacks again.
It's got 4 now.
What happened?
He's got 4 sacks now. Yeah, him and Jalen Carter, 3.5, and then 4 for Hassan. Yeah, man, I loved what Sean Desai did in this game. Even early on, I think I texted you, right? Because we saw Bradbury get burned twice. We saw Slay get burned once by I believe it was Cup or maybe it was Nakua. Maybe it was both. I don't know. I watched them get burned a couple times each. And mind you, I think that's just because they were finally pressing up, right? They were playing in tight coverage. You're giving them an opportunity to get beat at that point.
And look what happens, though. Look what happens.
I like seeing it, though. You know what I mean? I like the switch up because it keeps the offense guessing. It keeps you wondering how they're going to play you. And then you see later in the game, now you can adjust and bring some blitzers, right? Bring some extra pressure that's getting into Matthew Stafford's face. And mind you, once again, we talk about meat left on the bone for the offense. There was meat left on the bone for this defense. You had 2 opportunities where Anthony Morrow, he got bricks for hands, bro. Like, he could do a lot of things on defense, but you do see in those moments, like, that's why he's not the big-time linebacker, right? Like, the big-time linebacker makes that interception. The big-time linebacker
or just jumps on the football.
Recovery.
Like,
yeah, just jump on the goddamn football, man. But nonetheless, there was still meat on the bone there. You could have had 2 turnovers that could have switched this game entirely. But even after those mishaps, they were still able to take advantage and get stops and just get in pressure in Matthew Stafford. That's what I want to see. I want to see guys in the quarterback's face. Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback in this league. And when you have Jalen Carter and Hassan Reddick in your face, it changes your game a little bit.
Well,
and
I think about
I
this.
love seeing that, man.
They were able to hold him to a goose egg in the second half, like Hunter said, only giving up 14 points, just over 200 total yards on the game. And they were without Avonte Maddox, without Fletcher Cox, without Nakobe Dean, and without Sidney Brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that.
That's crazy.
It's pretty damn impressive, man. Like, I like our depth. Obviously, we have depth on the defensive line. Bring in Bradley Roby. I get it. You're missing about 4 guys that play on this defense.
Yeah.
Like, not just rotation. Sidney Brown's a rotation.
Make a difference.
Sure. Fletcher Cox, Avonte Maddox, Nakobe Dean was your starting. They play, man. And you were able to hold a good Rams offense to that. Listen, the Rams have come out, and I think the broadcast did a great job of highlighting that with Greg Olsen. Like, we forgot, man. We forgot that, that defense might lack talent, and they moved on from after their Super Bowl. But when Stafford's on the field and healthy with McVay, and they get cut back, and Nakua's flash now, that offense can move the ball down the field, and they're explosive. So for the fact that the Eagles were able to limit them and adjust and figure things out, that was huge for me moving forward.
14 points. That's their lowest scoring output on the season. It was a defensive performance for sure. We called it, and it happened. I wanted to ask you, Reed Blankenship, man. I feel like he is a stud, right? Like,
I was going to bring that up.
He's involved in so many plays, like just breaking up passes. Like, he's always in the right spot.
He's impactful.
He's impactful.
And what I mean by that is when he's around the ball, you feel him. There's a hard hit when he drops down into the box. He's coming over and breaking up a pass. So like he is an impact
physical
player, man. Yeah. Very physical, lowers the shoulder. I like what they have in Reed Blankenship, man. I wasn't drinking the Kool-Aid in the offseason. Yeah. I'm not saying I doubted it, but from what I had seen in limited action, I wasn't understanding the hype train around this just yet. Yeah. And you're seeing it to start this season, man. He's been really good.
No, I agree, man. He's been a light in the tunnel. He's a lock in that secondary, and I think that's what I love about it. No, I can't say enough about this win. I think we don't need to downplay it at all here. I think the Rams are a really good team. And they showed it in the first half. I think, we've seen it throughout this season where the defense has been able to make adjustments in the second half and kind of stiffen up, right? Mm-hmm. We've seen that several times from Sean Desai now. But this was a masterclass, man. I think I feel comfortable saying that on the road in LA, holding them to 14 points when they get off to such a hot start. They build that confidence, getting Cooper Kupp back, right? But I loved the difference from Sean Desai's game plan, allowing the secondary to play up a little bit, because you saw it in the second half, especially on those routes where I don't even know what to call the actual route, honestly. But where Cooper Kupp goes across the field and then up, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember
yeah.
what
They
the
missed on a
title of
couple
that.
of them.
They missed on that probably 3 or 4 times late in the game, but I feel like that's just all because of that pressure at the line of
Yeah.
scrimmage holding him up on that route. And that's the way you're going to have to play some of these teams. And, going forward, we needed to see a game like this in order to have
Yeah.
confidence going into a game against the Miami Dolphins or the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, down the line, great quarterback play, good wide receivers. We needed to see a performance like this.
Agreed. The only thing I will say is they do have to start cashing in on those red zone opportunities.
Yeah.
Because as dominant of a performance as it was, the time of
Yeah.
possession, the yardage, everything like that, this was a 6-point game midway through the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Very much another one of those games where Rams make 1 or 2 plays different.
Right.
They're in this game, maybe win this game. So there is a little bit to think about there. I do agree with you.
Yeah, no, so they need to clean that up, man. Definitely moving forward. Well, and I don't know, it's a handful of things. It's play calling, it's a lack of balance in the red zone, it's Jalen's decision making for sure.
Yeah.
I don't get the obsession. Like, don't get me wrong, 17 carries to 7 yesterday in favor of DeAndre Swift. They're trending in the right direction, but I don't get the Kenneth Gainwell love in the red zone.
Yeah,
Like someone tweeted, I think it was Pat Egan from the Phanatics tweeted out, like, why do they think he's like Jerome Bettis? Like, why are they bringing this dude inside the 10 every time when DeAndre Swift was gashing them up and down the field?
And Swift, looking at him on our squad now, getting to see him up close and personal each game, he's a lot more physical than what you imagined before getting him, right? Like,
and
he is a tank in there.
Here's my question. If you want that power style back inside the 10 that can get between between the gaps, why isn't Rashad Penny active?
Yeah. If that's what you're looking for, a physical runner inside the trenches, right, in the 20-yard line, why not go Rashad Penny? I don't know. I like Gainwell. He had a big third down play early in the game, but
it's the timing of when they use them. Why on third downs all the time? Like,
he's
how
not
is he a better third down back than DeAndre Swift?
Third down back than DeAndre Swift. Right. But I don't know. I think they do a lot of things very unorthodox, and hopefully it will get ironed out throughout the season, right? They start to notice trends and moments and start to correct some of these things, because it is baffling at times when you think about it. Like, third down, that's when you need your best receiving back in, right? You need your guy that can go out and make a play in the open field.
He's also quicker and shiftier as well.
Yeah, it's DeAndre Swift in every facet of this game. I don't know. I get the concerns with Swift as a pass blocker, but on those downs specifically,
right? When
you're not looking for a pass blocker. You're looking for a guy that can make plays.
I agree, man. One last thing.
Yeah.
The brotherly shove. Tush push, whatever you want to call it. It's beautiful. Yeah, and you know what I love? The emphasis and the emotion from Nick Sirianni in the fashion that they punched that in the 32-second drive to end it, to cap it off there. You weren't stopping that. And Greg Olsen made me laugh too. They go to the highlight and every single defensive lineman was offside. They didn't call it, but he was like, and it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. And the beautiful part about it, and I have a bad feeling. Scotty, I'm being very, very serious.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's getting outlawed this offseason.
Yeah.
There's too many complaints about it. Somehow
it's
the
actually
effing New York Giants are going to be a staple in getting it banned because those idiots can't even run a quarterback sneak correctly. I'm not laughing at injuries, but they get 2 guys hurt on the same play when they try it on national television in a blowout. So now there's an emphasis on, is it a dangerous play? Yada, everything like that. Like,
if the offense gets injured, how's that? Like, that was their choice to run the play.
And let me ask you a question. What does it have to do with the guys lined up behind the quarterback? Because if that's the case with injuries and the offensive lineman that got injured on that play, well, then just outlaw the quarterback sneak in general.
Right.
Like the old school quarterback sneak. You're not allowed to do that either then.
Right.
It's just funny to me, man. I don't know how much more evidence, how much more film you need to see that just because the Eagles are dominant at it does not mean it's an unfair play and the NFL needs to outlaw it. How many teams last week tried it and failed at it?
Every single game that I've watched, I've seen an attempt at it by one of the teams.
I saw 3 last week alone.
Yeah. And it doesn't work,
That's
right?
what I'm
It doesn't
saying.
work.
That's what I'm saying.
Like that's not our fault. It's insanity, honestly. That is like the most comical thing that has been discussed in the last 2 to 3 years. Like we're banning something because it works for one team
Yeah.
and they have mastered it. So we just have to ban it out of the league.
And let me ask you a
It's so
question.
obvious.
Let me ask you a question. Why should it be banned? Because you're not going to ban the quarterback
Yeah.
sneak. So that play's still going to be allowed. So what don't they like about it? The two players that line up behind the quarterback? Well, then let me ask you a question. When a running back gets stacked up at the goal line, are the offensive
Is
linemen
that a
allowed to come
penalty?
in and push the pile moving forward for extra
Is that going to
yardage?
be a penalty?
Yeah. Because it's the same
Like,
thing.
that's the
It is the
route we're
same
gonna have
thing.
to go. Like, if we're gonna be fair, right? If we're banning people pushing people
Yeah.
when they're stood up by the defense because the defense can't come in and gang tackle, right?
Right.
That makes sense. Like, people keep saying that the defense is like put at a disadvantage, and I just don't understand it. Like, stack up the middle of the box. It's part of game plan. It's part of scheme. It's part of doing your job as a defense is stopping the offense.
Or
To
Scotty,
me, man,
don't
it
let them
honestly,
get to 3rd and 1.
yeah, it's a show. Like it is like the most simplistic form of showing your dominance in the trenches. Like that's why I love it. Like I fucking love it because when we get it, especially in that moment yesterday, I was texting my boy Pastor Rims. So I haven't seen him in the comments here. He must be depressed. I was texting him in a group chat yesterday, and I just texted him bully ball because it hurts your feelings if you're the opposing team when you see us drive down the field in 30 seconds and then we go mano-a-mano at the goal line. You got 2 seconds. This is one play that you have to stop us from getting 1 yard, and you can't do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Exactly.
And it feels
Eagles,
so good to watch that happen.
Think about that if you're the Rams, man. The Eagles could have kicked the field goal and took 3 points into the half.
And
Nick
went into the half
Sirianni
down.
Nick Sirianni basically laid out this option. One play, man on man, you stop us, we don't score anything before the half.
Yeah, but you can't do that.
Can't stop it. And that's the funniest
You have Aaron
part.
Donald.
Man. That's the funniest part. Yeah. But the best part, what Greg Olson was talking about, and it's true. Like, even when teams run it and are successful at it around the league, they're just getting the first down.
Yeah.
The Eagles, I'm not joking, could line up 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, third, or 1st down, 2nd down, 3rd down, and probably pick up enough yardage to get a first down if they only ran that play.
Yeah.
They need half a yard, they pick up 3.5.
Yeah.
That's how far past line of scrimmage he is. It's the quarterback strength, lower body strength. We know, we trust me, we know what Jalen Hurts squats, right? Big storyline when he came into the league, right? It's the offensive line, and it's not just that. It's Jason Kelce. That's what it is. It's the best center in football. It's the way they get low because how many like the Giants when the Giants try to run it, their offensive linemen go straight up and Daniel Jones goes high.
Yeah.
That is the complete opposite of how it's successfully ran. So it's just funny. Just because you can't do it correctly, just because your team's getting blown out and your quarterback got sacked 11 times and, oh no, my right tackle got hurt on this play, that's your own damn stupid ass fault. Man.
I hate the discussion around the play because it undermines how good the Eagles' offensive line is. Like that is the difference.
And look how bad it looks when some other teams run it.
Exactly. And you see
again, if we're gonna outlaw it, then you have to outlaw the quarterback sneak in general, and you have to outlaw offensive linemen and other players coming in and pushing the pile. Because that is how is that like people, and you know what the funniest argument is? It's not even just that it's unfair, Scotty. There are legitimate people, national media, on social media, on podcasts, on television, talking about how it's just ugly. It's not football. It's rugby, and it's not pretty. Is it pretty when all 11 guys on each side are in a huddle and the ball carrier's almost like picked up in midair and both sides are just shoving for a couple extra yards? Well, that's allowed for first downs and for touchdowns.
Is it pretty? is it pretty watching the Cowboys get dog walked on Sunday Night Football? But like, is that pretty? Like, no, football's not pretty all the time. Sometimes it's really ugly, and that's part of the
Prescott's
game,
3
man.
interceptions was ugly. I had to watch it.
That shit was, ugly, man. Like, I was sitting there, man. I'm like, man, I want the Cowboys to lose, but not this bad, right? Like, I want them to put up some type of competition against the 49ers, but no, man, that's ugly football, man. But I did want to shout out our offensive line one more time before we end the show here. Shutting down Aaron Donald, erased
100%.
him. Erased him from the game. He was a
non-factor.
It was actually a very impressive given we were missing our right guard, our starting right guard, and Cam Jurgens. But Suel Peta, man, comes in. All you got to do, just listen to Jeff Stoutland, and you'll be fine, right? Go out there, double team him with Jason Kelce.
Also, if you play between Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, you're probably bound
to be all right. Lane Johnson even stood Aaron Donald up a couple times, man. It was pretty to watch, but
it really was. Yeah, so that is going to wrap things up here for this Monday, this Victory Monday edition of the Phaithful Phanatics show. We'll get into some Sixers talk later on in the week, maybe Wednesday show, that and Phillies. And then we'll get into more Eagles on Friday morning show. Guys, don't forget, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, the DSM-Media Philadelphia YouTube channel. It is the best spot to get your thoughts and comments pulled up here on the screen to join your host. It is also the home of DSM Pregame Live. It is the only place we stream Phillies, Eagles, and Sixers pregame shows. We will be there tonight for Phillies Braves Game 2, so make sure to come hang out with us and drop your game predictions for myself, for Scotty, for DSM,